Hey, welcome back to You Heard It from a CFP. My name is Matthew Coyle, Advanced Capital Group here in Minneapolis with you with episode 57 of You Heard It from my home office here in western Minneapolis, Excelsior specifically. I am happy to be with you as always. Been a few weeks since I've been here, been traveling a little bit, been a busy bumblebee the last couple weeks. So happy to be back. Happy to be back talking about financial planning. And that's what the topic of today is actually, is what is financial planning? And more importantly, why should you care what financial planning is? And what is the reason and what reason should you have for working with a financial planner? What's the benefit? Let's dive in. All right, well, what is financial planning and why the heck should you care about it? You know, I've been in this industry now over 20 years, most of that time spent as a financial planner. I actually didn't start as a financial planner. I actually started in a trading environment. But came to the industry in the early 2000s, had my own business after that as an independent planner, then came to ACG when I merged my book with ACG in 2017. But the term financial planner is very important. We're going to talk about what it means and why the heck you should care about it. Three things what financial planning is, and then 4 reasons why you should care about it. And I'm going to start right off the bat as I consult my notes here. What is financial planning? Number 1, a planner must start off by asking you to ask, what do I want to achieve, right? You can't start a relationship off with a financial planner. If they start offering you products right off the gate, whether it's insurance, mutual funds, whatever it is, that person's probably a commission salesperson, and you should just turn up, get out of your chair, just turn on, walk out the door. There's no point even staying there anymore. So what is a financial planner? First of all, the planner should be able to quantify your goals and the odds of achieving those goals, which is the most important part. It looks kind of like this. It is the odds, the degree to which we are comfortable asserting that you are going to meet your goal based on your current pace or whether you need to change that pace. And a financial planner needs to start there by looking at what is an actual achievable goal for you. Are you on pace for it? And to be able to compare that with different things. We do that again right here. But it is basically the effort of starting from scratch by saying, look, what do you want to achieve and what is the definition of this relationship? So that's number 1. A financial planner needs to start off by asking you, what is it you actually want to get done here? What is the purpose of your visiting with me? And that needs to be number 1 in the relationship. All right, second component of financial planning, if you're going to work with a planner at all, whether it's me or anybody else, that planner must use the data you've given them and the goals you've given them to choose the investments, okay? When a planner sits down and actually looks at the after-tax spending that you want to plan for in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, whatever it is, that advisor must calculate a certain implied rate of return to get there. They then take that rate of return and they decide, well, what investments will most likely get us there, okay? If that advisor does not do that, if that planner does not do that, they start off just by talking about product without talking about any goals, then realistically, that person is just a salesperson. So you can't put the cart before the horse. The planning relationship, number 1, has to start with the goals, as I just mentioned. Number 2, after that, they must use those goals to back into the allocation that might be best beneficial for you to get to that goal, okay? So the plan drives the allocation, not the other way around. You must use the plan to drive the allocation, not start with the investments. If you strictly start with the investments, then you're probably just trading or speculating. And if you are, that's fine. There is a place for that too. But if you want to use the proper planning techniques, then a planner must sit down, look at the goals you've outlined, run some analyses, and then use some type of that analysis to get an allocation together and present this to you and why that allocation is good for you. So, number 1, a planner must quantify your goals and be able to quantify the odds of success. And number 2, they must use that analysis to pick an allocation, not the other way around. All right, number 3. Those investments and those goals must be monitored on a regular basis. Now, what does regular mean? Well, that's relative to the individual, right? Everybody's a little bit different. It could be once a quarter, it could be twice a year, it could be once a year, it could be once a month. I don't know. It depends on what you want and what you need. But your investments and your goals must be looked at on a somewhat regular basis to see if they're still relevant and still achievable. Because things change, right? People's goals change, markets change, times change. And you must take a look at those periodically to see if the returns are matching up with what you need, and not just that, but if the risk is matching up with what you require and what you need. Sometimes you need a high rate of return to achieve goals if you have some big goals. Sometimes you don't need that. In fact, a lot of times you don't. I would argue that a steady rate of return is actually more important than a high rate of return. But regardless of that, you need to be monitoring those with your planner, and you need to be tracking those with your planner in a quantifiable way. So that is what I would say, those 3 things. So first of all, you must be able to quantify your goals. You must be able to analyze some type of investment structure that can meet those or have a high likelihood of meeting them. And number three, you got to monitor them. If they're not being monitored, then really it's just a static trade, and that doesn't really mean much. So those three things. Let's talk about, more importantly, though, why should you care about what a financial planner does for you? And we'll talk about that right now. All right, let's get to why should you care. Why should you care about financial planning? I mean, maybe you don't even have a financial planner. Maybe you don't even really need one, and it's possible you don't. But in all likelihood, most people do benefit from working with a financial planner. And the number one reason, I'll start there, is just complexity. As we age, our financial profiles get a lot more complex. Perhaps we have inherited some assets. Maybe we've built a portfolio over time that has done well. Maybe we've been divorced. Maybe we've had kids that aren't very good with money, and we need to protect our assets without giving them too much of it too soon. There's a ton of reasons as you age why your financial picture becomes just a lot more complex. And you need somebody to sit down, help you with the organization, look at the investments, and put something together for you. So number one, why should you care? You have a complex financial picture. As we get older, it's just a fact. We just have more. Most of us just have more as we get older. We want to help conserve that. We want to grow it, but we certainly want to be responsible with it. And the advisor can really help. If they really know what they're doing and they're organized and they've got good technology, good software, good resources, and can do some in-house things for you, but also can network for you and get some resources outside of that network, then realistically, you need to be working with that person to help organize yourself. All right, second reason, and this is a very common reason, and it's okay to admit it, you're just not very good with money. That's okay. There's a lot of things I'm not good at. I happen to be very good with money, but there's lots of things I'm not good at, so I hire them out. I'm not good at fixing my own car, so I pay for somebody else to do it. I know lots of people who are not good with money. Doesn't mean they're not smart. They're very smart people, but they're just not organized, or they're just not very good handling finances. It's okay. It's a very common thing. An advisor can sit down and, for not a lot of money really, on an annual basis, help you organize, help you save, help you prioritize, help you get things in line, or help you transfer things in a way that makes a lot of sense for your next generation. So, second most common reason really is you're just not very good with money. And again, it's okay. I know lots of smart people who are not very good with money, but they can benefit from working with a financial advisor simply because the advisor is offering a viewpoint that's kind of outside of the scope and can remove some of the emotion from it, which can help you quite a bit. So that's the second reason. Okay, third reason. People who work with financial advisors, and there have been many studies on this. Forbes has done a piece on this. Business Insider has done a piece on it. CFP Network, of course, has done studies on this. And there is just a lot of evidence to point to the fact that people who work with advisors, who are more organized, who get a good view on things and can actually get a real feel for where they stand financially and where they're going financially, are just happier. They tend to be organized. They tend to be more happy. They tend to be just in a better place. And when you're in that better place, you feel better about the things you can and cannot do. And there's lots of people out there who just really want to have a good basic understanding of where they stand. They don't necessarily have to be independently wealthy to be happy, but they do want to be organized and they do want to be pointed in the right direction. And it makes their life more organized, it makes their lives easier to understand, makes their lives and them in general just happier and in a better place. There's lots of research out there to point on this. Many places have done research on this. When they ask people who work with a financial advisor, what are your goals and are you happy with those goals? Most people tend to report that they are happier when they work with an advisor, especially someone who's a fiduciary like I am, or any other fiduciary is, that who's really working in their interest and not just a commissioned salesperson. They tend to be happier. They tend to be more in a better place. So number three, you just tend to be, on average, a little bit happier, a little bit more organized, and a little bit more sure of yourself when you're working with someone with a second pair of eyes who can help you. All right, finally, number four, why should you care? I'm going to piggyback on my reason from number one about financial complexity. I would argue that anyone who is entering retirement or within, let's say, 5 years of retirement, and you're getting closer to that point where you're going to start drawing on your assets, you're going to have to trust me here for a second. I've been doing this a while. I have seen people waste and give away so much money in unexpected costs, in taxes and things like that, that it really does help to have someone take a look at things for you and point out some things maybe you haven't thought of, or maybe take a look at your portfolio. And especially if you have different types of portfolios, maybe you have money sitting in IRAs and Roth IRAs and taxable accounts and qualified plans and pension and Social Security and blah and blah and blah. You need someone to organize it and say, look, you need to draw from here, 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 and here, and in this order. And if it's the wrong order, we can change that order and take a look at it, right? So again, I'm kind of piggybacking on my number one here, but when you get into that area of your life where you start drawing assets down, that's a much more complicated time in your life than it is when you're accumulating assets. Accumulating assets, especially if you're making a decent income, is fairly simple. Keep your costs relatively reasonable, spread it around a little bit, get a good, strong portfolio, work with someone who can help you, maybe show you some other types of asset classes, maybe private investments or private credit or whatever. But accumulation is much, 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 much easier than distribution. Distribution is much more difficult. It's far more difficult. You've got far more things to worry about. So if you're getting to that point in your life where you are, let's say 5 years out, and maybe you've never worked with an advisor before, and those people are out there, you need not just, again, due to complexity, but just due to cost. I've seen people waste so much money in costs, fees, taxes, all that by drawing things in the wrong order or drawing them in a way that doesn't make sense or overdrawing them, just taking too much money out of their accounts and then paying too much tax that they didn't need to pay. So working with an advisor at that point really does help. It really does help and make a difference. So if you want more information, please reach out to me. My information is always at the end of this video. I'll leave it there today. I like these videos to be relatively short so people actually watch them and enjoy them. As always, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It is your most valuable asset, as I say. Reach out to us if you have any questions. I'll see you next time. Bye.